is because we've got a staff that is overextended as it is, and we're giving them new assignments, new responsibilities. But when we worked on MTOs, when we talked about furloughs 5, 6, 7 years ago, when things were not nearly as bad, but at the time they felt every bit as bad, it became a bit of a mess, and we eventually simply abandoned that for a variety of reasons. A few months ago here, we had the district attorney come in, and we asked about a commitment that had been made to us when we talked about enlarging the pay of a certain category of public attorneys. And we were assured that, yes, sir, we will really buckle down and we will make sure that we get a clear indication that we are going to get better work from better paid, better attorneys. And then we heard from the district attorney, well, I just can't do it, didn't get around to it. But we had a commitment at that time that we would hear about this. Have we adjusted this? Has it gone forward? No. You have a couple of supervisors up here who have been busted, as it were, by the grand jury. The grand jury's out there right now telling us how they overspent their budget and makes the amount of money they inappropriately accused a couple of us of misappropriating because we were following the rules, look like nickels and dimes by comparison. But we, at this juncture, at least one supervisor, and I get a sense there are a couple of other supervisors who are saying, we're not making the hard decisions. We're not making them. We're not following through on the things that are uncomfortable and unpleasant. But I resent the idea that we are expected somehow or other to cut our budgets, that is the supervisors, when in fact other agencies are saying, and again, other elected officials are saying, in effect here, we do what we want and we can get away with it, and we don't clamp down. We've got, Johnny, you've said it 100 times, I'm sure, without exaggerating, 100 times. How in the world are we going to pay these salaries that we have just put forward in the last couple of years? The increase, bringing things into alignment. This is a problem. But in order to bring the salaries of those who work here and do the work here into a point where we can actually pay them, where we can afford them, we're going to have to look at the size of the workforce here. We're also going to have to look at where the services are provided. So it's just this lack here of what we have been promised in the past that we say we have looked at, we'll take it seriously the next time around. And we do not do it, because once we get over the August hurdle this year, the September hurdle, it's as if it's take a deep breath and the sun comes out and the little birds start singing and everything's just fine until we start looking at the same set of problems the next year and things are not resolved and not dealt with. If we have the CEO's commitment to look at things such as closing down for 3 or 4 or 5 days at Christmas, and tell us what the consequences will be, fine, I can believe it'll happen. Are we going to hold department heads, elected or otherwise, to coming up with the kinds of things that we have been assured when they're talking about how important it is they get increases in pay for their staff? If we can be assured that's going to be in place. But really, my history with regard to taking on hard problems at the board level here is we always come up close, do the rhetoric, as I'm doing now, and then say, we'll do it the next time. And I think it's kind of ironic that we have the two of the more liberal, let's put it that way, supervisors up here are saying, let's take a look at the hard choices we have to make. That's not what we like doing. I don't know if anybody likes doing it. But the fact of the matter is, we have to start acting like grown-ups up here and start talking about a budget that actually can be met without the usual cut and hide, those things that make it awkward for all of us. So I will not support this budget. I said 2 months ago, I will not support this budget unless I get a decent answer from the district attorney's office on why she did not follow through. So I'm consistent all the way through on this position I have with regard to whether or not this budget is a balanced budget, on whose backs is it being balanced. So, again, I've spoken way too much today, and I'll probably regret it tomorrow, but I think here it's time to grow up and ask our staff to help us perform like responsible adults, the way we do as parents, the way we do as real adults in the real world.
Supervisor Delaware.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take a stab at a motion here and see if it flies. And that is that we adopt the budget as presented, with the exception of removing $70,000 of external requests and placing those dollars in contingency. And furthermore, direct the CEO to bring back to the board, and I'm flexible on this date if he doesn't think that it's possible, by October 23rd, a proposed work plan with timelines